in talking to the audience today is a little bit is, hey, if somebody is just hearing this for the first time and goes on the internet or hears some ads and things about LEDs and lasers for cosmetic use and pain relief and anything else, you're going to be hit with such a wide set of information that you're going to be quite confused and puzzled. And so I thought the biggest value I could give at this point is, just like I was telling you about full spectrum lights and sunlight versus the bad standard lighting. Over here, I'm going to try to give you some pieces of information that'll help you wade your way through and find out how to take advantage of this technology. Because if you get a right unit, there's virtually nothing in the body you can't work on with LED lights. And you can do it yourself. You can buy a unit, and it's good for the rest of your life. And you can use it and use it and use it.
What kind of units are we talking about?
Well, okay. I think the way I would like to describe this is, first of all, to separate the whole concept of lasers versus LEDs, because that eliminates one of the biggest questions.
Didn't you kind of lay that out?
Exactly. So therefore, what I'm saying to the audience, determine whether the unit that you're looking at is a low power or cold laser or whether it is an LED. There is nothing an LED can't do. The lasers and LEDs are pretty much equivalent as to what they can do, only the LEDs are safe and the lasers may have hazards to them. So, first of all, audience, you don't need to go lasers. They're expensive, they don't last longer, they're not as safe. It usually, if you don't buy one and they're expensive, you have to have a practitioner use it, and so you're paying your doctor calls. So, first thing I would recommend for the average person off the street, consider LEDs, forget lasers. That'll set your mind at ease right there. Now, when you look at LEDs, now there's a couple of things that are very important to look at. And those start with, first of all, realize that any different wave of light in the entire spectrum of sunlight will be able to affect tissue to a certain degree. So therefore, what's the reason for going to a red? Well, the red is the fastest and the best of all the frequencies. So you're going to see different colors out there, and different colors have two problems. One is the red's at the top of the hill, and everybody else is lower on the hill. So if you're going to get an LED, get one that's the best acting. There's no difference in cost, and it's more effective. The second thing is that these LEDs should not be mixed. You don't want you want a unit that is all one color, preferably red. But it could be all blue or all green. But if the unit out there mixes the wavelengths, then basically you have a unit that's going to perform more poorly compared to one that has all the same colors. And the best analogy I can give you, Kim, is if you listen to radio station 660 on your radio dial, you hear it clear, you can understand it. But now if I turn on 4 radio stations, station 600, 610, 660, 700, all at the same time on 4 different units, you're getting conflicting signals hitting you.
And a diffusion of focus.
Exactly. So you're confused. You don't understand any of the 4. So put yourself in the picture of a cell. Now, the cell's getting hit with blue, red, green at the same time. The little sensors on the cell are going to literally shut down. They're hit with confusing signals, so they don't respond at all.
So why are people manufacturing these confusing and many signals coming in at the same time, knowing that science of the cell as you described?
Well, I guess the first thing is when you go to market a product, you don't necessarily know all the science of the background, they may not know that simple fact. And so they approach it from a marketing standpoint. The marketing standpoint says, if red's good, then blue and green and red are even better. And it's an easy sale pitch to people, just like I said, nothing more than that, unless the person knows that it's the single wavelength, undiluted by being different colors, that really does the trick. So, first of all, the multicolor is a nice marketing tool. Oh, it's great. It's great. I think that's probably the biggest thing is the marketing aspect of this. Remember, a lot of people, too, who do know about color therapy. Color therapy is the broadband color, so they're used to using different colors. So a lot of manufacturers took that old Dinshaw and color therapy philosophy and moved it forward and used it with LEDs. But it doesn't compute. They're not the same. One uses broadband color and the other uses single wavelength.
So the science is off.
Yeah, so there's a lot of reasons why people jump on the bandwagon and want to produce a unit and get it out there and sell. NASA says this, NASA says that. So my advice to the audience, again, is if you're looking at a unit, make sure it's got one color. It's not multiple colors. That's a real obvious one that they can tell.
Will manufacturers tell us? If people don't buy from you, and let's say they buy from somewhere else, will the manufacturers state how many colors are in the single wave?
Yes, they will. They'll basically say what's in it. And so it's easy to find out what colors are in it. I mean, and your eye can see everything except infrared, so you can see blue and green and red. The unit has that. It's just that the game here is don't use more than one color at a time. And the other, because it sets up this, how do I want to put it? It's almost like there's a destructive interference pattern. Now, you can get an interference pattern also the same way by putting your LEDs too close together, because then as they penetrate the tissue, they hit the cell at different times, and it seems like it's almost a different wavelength. So you need your LEDs kind of spaced out a little bit and not clustered together. That's another good thing to look for. The other thing is that your lights have to have a certain amount of brightness in order to penetrate deeper into the tissues. But I think the biggest thing for people is look for a single frequency, look for spaced out LEDs, and then the only other thing that's really effective, you can go all the way from one light up to hundreds if you want in a given unit. And the thing to remember is that it's really the spacing is how big of a coverage it goes. You really are important about how deep the penetration is, because if you can't reach deep, well, then you can't help certain areas in the body. So we found over the years by experimentation that if you align the LEDs certain geometrical patterns, that it actually allowed the effective penetration of the light to go much deeper. Physically, you couldn't see the light, but if it went deeper, you could see the effect of the light on the cells deeper. So we found that using geometrical patterns that it allowed the light to go deeper. And when you have a unit, it's very interesting. If you normally LEDs, when you pull them away from an area like on your tissue, you pull them away, they get lighter and more diffuse, like I said, diffuse LEDs. But if you take a unit and you shine it in, say, in a dark room on the ceiling, you expect all the light to dissipate and there not be anything up there 5 feet